White men are afraid of their own power. When black people chimp out, it looks like nihilistic gang violence and drive-by shootings. When brown people chimp out, it looks like Allah Akbar and it looks like cartels. When white people chimp out, it looks like ubiquitous domination. A level of conquest that other people could never fucking conceive of is the reality. And that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. And on some level, I don't even like being the one to say it.
Shalom, shalom. Once again, all praises, honor, and glory unto the Most High. Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai Ba'asham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the Great Millstone, and salutations to all you sincere Kem. And this is your brother Abawan, back again with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh Shai Ba'asham Rakakwadash. All praises and glory is due. And this is the book of Ezekiel 35 verse 6. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh of power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Right, and you have this, you saw the video right there, you had this Edomites coming out talking about some, when the white man jumps out, and the white man is, when the white man, shows his violence, right? And this is how these devils, Esau, Edom, the so-called red man, thinks. They believe that their violence is a virtue, right? They believe that, that they are basically, they fall back always on their blessing, right? Because their blessing is the sword, and that's the blessing that they have been given by the Most High, Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh. But what you Edomites don't realize is that even the fact that your blessing is the sword, it already shows that you are the basest of men, and that fact alone condemns you, right? You think that, because of your ability to practice violence expeditiously, right, or because of your ability to practice violence, that makes you somehow, or that's somehow an admirable trait. But all that shows is that you truly are the basest of men. You truly are the lowest of the men on the earth, right? The true savages of the earth, because all you can do is rely on your violence. And that's why you always see that whenever these Edomites are down on their luck, Esau can't get a woman, shoot up a school, right? Esau, is having trouble in his life, shoot up a school, right? Esau, that's why you always see that Esau is either, performing some form of wickedness or some form of violence, cutting people up and, putting them in, what they call that thing again, in tanks or, barrels, right? He overrepresented in all your violent crimes, and very, very overrepresented in sexual crimes as well, right? And that's something that you don't really see Esau talking about, because Esau cry up and down and talk about how, even though, Jake, right, the so-called the Israelite man, is 13% of the population in the Southern Kingdom, 13% of the population, they commit, well, really, Jake doesn't commit, that's a lie, right? They are arrested, okay? It's a different term, a different ideology, a different term, a different criteria of measurement, right? It's Jake is arrested 50% more for violent crimes than Esau Edom. Not that they commit 50% more violent crimes than Esau Edom. And that was only for the year of 2019. Every other year after 2019, according to the FBI crime fast statistics, right, Esau Edom is arrested far more than the Southern Kingdom is, right? But what Esau never mentioned is that even though they are technically 29% of the population, they account for over 70% of all the sexual crimes, especially child sexual abuse material, CSAM, right? Basically, Esau is a gang of pedos, okay? And these are the same people that will run up and down crying about how, the Hebrew Israelites, believe in GRAPE, right? And they believe in, this, and there are a bunch of pedophiles, right? But it's all, but hey, basically every accusation from Esau, Edom, is a confession, right? And you have these Edomites, and it's basically talking about how, oh, when the white man chimps out and he does all this violence, and yeah, because your blessing is the sword, okay? Because you have been given the power of the sword, all right? And this is your rulership. That's why, you are glorifying what is basically savagery. And that's why you are glorifying what is basically, like I said, you're glorifying what is basically savagery. And let's get this. I think that should be Job 35 or Job 30. Let me just type it in the search bar. Let's get this. Because it's only somebody as foolish as Esau would think that anything that was mentioned in that video, anything that was said in that video is somehow, a flex for the Edomite man, when in all reality it just is a bigger and a greater condemnation for you, because now you cannot escape your true identity and your true nationality according to the scriptures, because even you Edomites know exactly what you are. So this is the book of Job 30 verse 1. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock, right? Because that's exactly what you Edomites are, the basest of men, right? Vagabonds upon the earth. So now Job 30 verse 2. Yea, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished. For want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men. They cried after them as after a thief, to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. Right? And that's where you get your cavemen from, your wild men as well from. And this is what Esau, Edom, and their great violence looks like when the Most High Yahweh Sham Yahushai is not raising them up to be, the rule. Is not raising them up to be the rule, in rulership, right? This is what Esau, Edom looks like when the Most High is not raising them up in rulership, right? When they are in their default natural state. This is exactly how these devils look, okay? And this is the true essence of Esau, Edom right here. Basically just being a base man, cutting up, juniper, cutting up, basically living in the caves, right? Living like savages, and you can just go and look into the wild men and the cavemen. How? Look into the Victorian era, look into the medieval era, and see how these Edomites were living, and then you understand just how low they were. Even right now in their current kingdom, how low they are, right? Because this is Esau's true state. Because right now, man, the Most High has glorified these devils, has put them in high, in a glorified state, right, at the head of this kingdom. And that's why, Esau's violence looks as fancy as it does, even though that illusion is slipping away. Especially in these last days, the world is beginning to see these devils what they truly are, and it's also beginning to see the quote-unquote force of the sword that they have, or the quote-unquote sword, right, that they have, right, the blessing of the sword that they have, for what it truly is. And it's all just fluff, because like I said, okay, and like the scriptures also tell you, these devils, the Edomites, is the basest of men, right? These devils are not brave, they're not mighty men, okay, right? They're not mighty men, okay. The only reason why you can even consider them, to be fearsome, right, or efficient killers, is because the Most High Yahweh Sham Yahushai has given them that blessing of the sword. And this is the book of Revelation 13 verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints, right? So any deception, right? Any what I'm looking for, basically a false appearance of good or of righteousness that Esau Edom is always trying to present to the world, right? No marvel, for Satan disguises himself as an angel of the light, and any false appearance of good that Esau Edom is trying to basically present to the world as is being dispelled in these last days, especially when the world is beginning to realize that that Esau Edom, the so-called red man, is the devil which the Bible speaks of, right? And like I said, man, these devils, they really think that, the violence that they have basically the violence that they have spread all throughout the earth, right? The violence, the wars, the famine, the pestilence, the plague, the destruction, the death, they think that, oh, that's, is their power. But like I said, all it does is that it just shows, it just establishes you as the basest of men, because this is how you have chosen to rule over the earth, right? You have chosen to rule over the earth with violence and wickedness, right? Let's get this quick preset. Let's get a quick preset. That should be the book of Nahum. Nahum. So this is the book of Nahum 3 verse 1. Woe to the bloody city, it is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departeth not. And that's exactly how you devils have ruled over the earth, with lies and robbery. The prey departing not. Rather than a golden city, right? The world is beginning to open their eyes and see that it's not a golden city, it's a bloody city. It's a city of blood, a city of great violence, a city of death and destruction, right? And let me get another precept. That should be Job 13 verse 4. So this is the book of Job 13 verse 4. But ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value. That's right. Right, because once again, man, you devils, man, and it's not as though, right, if the violence was in righteousness, if the violence was, oh, we are basically taking out the wicked, and we are basically destroying the wicked, right? We are establishing law through this violence. Then you'd have said that, okay, it is a righteous violence, it is a violence that is necessary, because basically the violence is in order to set up order and set up righteousness on the earth. But no, Esau's violence is basically just that, violence for the sake of violence, right? Why are these devils, bombing Iran? Why are these devils bombing the Middle East? Why are these devils, up and kidnap Maduro? And it's all for the sake of their wicked agenda. And that's why we call this the bloody city, all full of lies and robbery, right? Because these devils, they take up the sword only to steal and to kill and to destroy, right? These devils, they can only establish their power through unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deception, right? Lies, deception, and the sword. Basically, all negativity, all things that are in the negative, and the fact that you devils have so much pride in being killers, and not even as though, and this is the thing, right? Because if it was that Esau was doing this violence for righteousness' sake, right, for the sake of the heavenly Father, to establish righteousness on the earth, all well and good, it's all for the greater good at the end of the day. But that's not the case, right? The violence is for violence sake. The death and the destruction is for death and destruction's sake. Because you devils are the wicked which the Bible speaks of, But but these devils, they'll always frame it as though, no, that they are actually practicing this violence for righteousness' sake, That's how people actually believed in that bullshit of truth, justice, and the American way. But the American way has never been for truth or justice. That's always been for oppression and for oppression and for I don't know the other term, but basically oppression and to spread wickedness on the earth, right? Oh, when the white man jumps out, it looks like it does. It looks like it doesn't. That's not what it looks like, That's just your that's just Edomite propaganda speaking. We know what the violence of Esau Edom is, and it is just for wickedness' sake, okay? Because you're blessing it is so you believe that you truly have the ability to practice, this violence on the earth, right? This destruction on the earth, and you think that it's organized. but really it is just self-destructive and wicked ourselves. There is no order in it. It is just pure wickedness, and that's what we, right, that are in this truth are exposing to the world and showing the world that truly that truly you devils, right? Either you devils, right? You devils are exactly just that, the devil which the Bible speaks of. And the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is going to put you devils to death, man. The Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai is going to destroy you wicked as demonic as devils, right? So with that, I'm going to end the video right there. Once again, all praises, honor and glory unto the Most High Yahweh Hashem Yahushai Hashem Rakal Kodash. Wa abad babal shalom. So what about Hashem Yahushai?